So I'm going to show you how to make one of them really fancy looking dresses that you get. So I'm going to spend less than £100 and the dress is going to be, the finished product is going to be worth around £300 to £500. I've just picked my sister up and we're going to hit the shops, pick up supplies, yay! So as you can see, we had so many options to choose from, different fabrics, different colors, prints, but we knew we wanted something sparkly and navy blue. So this is the fabric we chose. It's beautiful net fabric.
Alright, so
how long have you got to make it?
2 days.
Not too bad. Better than one day.
So then I went on to look for some lining fabric for the dress, and I found the lining fabric section. It was around £2.70 per yard for any colour, but this was the only colour I found that best matched the dress we were going to make. I also went and got a long 55-inch zipper. They had loads of options and colours to choose from. Assalamu alaikum. So we've come home. I thought I'd show you the fabrics in close up. Lining for the whole dress. We just need it for the skirt part. I already have some lining fabric for the top part of the dress. Really thick navy blue silk material. It's this beautiful fabric which I've got for the whole bodice, the full sleeves, basically wherever I can put this. If I have some fabric left, I'm going to put it on the skirt. It doesn't matter, I'm going to use it, but it's mainly for the bodice, front, back and the full sleeves, right? A zip. Got these as bra cups, swimwear bra cups, but we're going to use them for the structure of the dress. Also brought a chalk pen because my last one broke. So that's the items that we've brought, and let's go on to cutting. Woo! And then sewing. Sarah is excited because I'm making it her size. For the length of skirt you need to fold the fabric and mark it on the length you desire. Then remove the excess fabric. Discard the extra fabric that we don't need. Fold the measured and cut fabric into a cone shape diagonally. Now you should have 4 layers of fabric on top of each other. We will have to cut the bottom of the dress off in a semicircle shape and the top part off for the waist. Measure as per your measurements down to the waist and mark it around until you get to the selvage, the fold to the selvage, and then you cut it off. After cutting the top corner off, then you do the same for the bottom of the dress and snip it right off. Then you will need the correct measurements for the bust, which is the top part of the dress. You need to measure the length and the width of how much fabric you will need. Fold up some of the lining fabric. Firstly, measure the width you need for your bust and cut off the excess fabric that you don't need. Measure the length of your bust and cut that off too. Now you should have 2 separate pieces for the front and the back of your bodice. Refold both the pieces of fabric together and measure and cut out the neckline that we need. Now we will be making a boat shaped neckline. Also cut 1/2 inch off the shoulder at a slope. Next, measure and cut out your armhole lengthwise and widthwise, making sure you cut out the armhole in a nice curve shape. Then we'll do the same for the back of the bodice. We're going to cut out 1/2 inch from the shoulder. Measure and cut out the armhole for the back of the dress too. Also cut out the back bodice into 2 separate pieces as we will be adding a zip to the back of the dress. Check if both the front and the back of the bodice go together perfectly. After that, we have to snip off at least 1/2 inch extra from the front of the bodice around the armhole. for more movement and flexibility. Now we will also cut an extra 1/2 inch off the front neckline. It's time to work on the expensive fabric, and firstly we will be cutting out the arms. We need the length of your arms and the width of your shoulder line. Measure both the measurements and mark them on the fabric, making sure the fabric is aligned straight. Cut off the required amount of fabric. So as you can see, we have 2 layers of the expensive fabric folded, and we will be cutting on the fold, so we have 2 separate pieces of fabric for each sleeve. I will be folding them over so it's easier to cut the sleeves, measuring her wrist, the amount you need for your wrist, and adding an extra 1/2 inch for the seam allowance. I also cut out the extra fabric that we don't need, which is part of the sleeve. You can keep it if you like and you want your sleeve to be looser. I cut an extra part of the wrist and I curved out the end of the armhole. After that, we are going to use the front bodice piece to lay on top of the fancy fabric. We will pin it in place to cut the fancy fabric out. Make sure you do pin the fabrics properly, as you don't want the fabrics to be moving whilst you are cutting them. And then you should have 2 layers of the fancy fabric cut precisely. After that, one of the layers you can cut straight through the middle, as we need to put a zipper in the back. Now with the fabric that's left, we are going to make the peplum part of the dress. For that, we need to make sure our fabric is folded salvage to salvage and then again diagonally a cone shape. We are going to cut off the extra fabric we don't require to be part of the peplum and use the bodice piece to measure how much we need to cut from the top for the waistline to attach to the bodice. To do that, we will fold the bodice twice and place it on the cone shape we have made until both measurements are equally placed, and cut that bit off. Now we will measure down on how much fabric we need for the peplum and pin it along the way in a semicircle shape. We will cut along that line we have just measured and also repeat ourselves to make another peplum for the front of the bodice as well. To do that, we are just going to pin it in place again and cut the top part of the cone and the bottom part of the peplum dress out in a smooth semicircle line. We will then attach all the fancy fabric to the lining, including the chest cups, to support the dress. We can sew the sleeves now. They don't require any lining. I used some of the silk that I had left as a piping bias tape around the wrist of the sleeve. I also used the leftover silk as a bias tape piping around the neckline and also the whole bottom part of the peplum. After sewing on the bias tape made with the leftover silk, I would fold it once more and sew it on top all over again in a hidden stitch to make it look professional. After finishing the piping around the peplum top, I also piped around the back of the neckline where the zippers would attach and attached every piece of the garment to itself, fully lined it. So I've lost the clips of me attaching all the pieces of the garments together and finishing it off. I do apologize, but what can we do? It's the first time I've made this video. The last aspect of the dress was to make the belt that will go across the waist. It'll be a tie back from the back, and also add my label behind the zip, and then it was done. Thank you for watching my video. Please let me know of any constructive criticism. It would be very much appreciated. And are voiceovers actually better? Let me know. Assalamu alaikum guys. Allah Hafiz.